Okay, we are live and we are back with more Lifestyles of Love with your girl Chris. And we got Micah and Vic in the mix. Sorry, I don't have a good um DJ voice or anything, but I did get complimented on my radio voice recently, so we'll just go with that. But shout out to Vic, you changed your name on the internets. You're like Vicky needs a nap or something
Oh, Vic needs a nap? Yes.
at AOL.com. And Micah is at aspire to inspire _music. And you can always catch up with me at Crystal with a K or at lifestyles of love _ We are all here. We're all back. Thank you for joining us for the previous episode or the last hour. And thank you for coming back for more. I know you wanted it. So, this is going to be a show. Well, I'm calling it translation, please, for now. Translation, transnation, however you would like to see it or hear it or whatever. But we're talking about transgender people and just we're going to get into the muck of it because I'll be honest with y'all, it's a bit of a wild ride on social media, so I can't imagine living it. And unfortunately, I don't have a transgender guest tonight, but if you are transgender and you have comments, please, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook, and send them over. I mean, you don't have to be nice. I prefer that, but get it off your chest. So, I think what brought about this topic was just general social media happening in the melanin community because that's just what we do.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, the shenanigans going on. So how did this start, Vic? Tell me
It
the
was
beginnings.
a trans woman who posted about how women, or excuse me, cisgendered, which would be like us, women who are born women.
Mm-hmm.
That's cisgender.
Right.
How we did not, we were not the gatekeepers of womanhood and periods. That's how it came
Right.
about. Yes. And
Okay.
so then celebrities started responding, or influencers, whatever, started responding, and it really just became a topic of discussion. And
Right.
but it totally went left though too. Some of the people
It
that were
did.
involved, yeah,
Yeah.
what's the girl named Tasha K responding to T.S. Madison? I mean, it got so fucking messy. Somebody who already owes somebody some money committed a felony on the
Oh.
internet, showing somebody's passport
Oh. Right.
with their birth name. Well, I guess it's been changed since then. I was like, how did it get
Oh.
here? How the fuck did it get here? Yeah.
Okay. So players in this conversation, or sorry, players in the social media of it.
I mean, that's where the whole thing is, really.
Right. Do we know the name of the trans woman?
That started it. Oh my god, cannot think of her fucking name. I know that the T.S. Madison had a response, and then Cherry the Bomb, I think that was her
Mm-hmm.
name, had a response. So
And Jess Hilarious
yeah,
had a
that's
response. And I
hilarious.
think Jess Hilarious's response was initially the one that sparked
Or at least the first one that we really saw.
that we saw. Okay.
Right.
So since we're talking about transgender people, I just want to put it out there, the actual definition of a transgender person.
It's
What'd you
Blessing
say?
Rose. It's Blessing Rose.
Oh,
yes,
thank you.
yes,
Blessing
thank
Rose
you.
is our trans woman who put out the statement
that
initially.
Kind of kicked it all off. Yes.
That kicked it all off. I'm not sure what triggered her or
Mm-hmm.
what. I don't know what, I
Yeah, I
don't know
don't
what
know.
happened, but I think it was, she was just speaking in a general way to say that um biological women don't own womanhood. Okay, let me give you a definition of a transgender person. That is a being or a person whose gender identity differs from the sex identified at birth. So that's just a general definition. And the definition of transphobic, which is not what we are, I think most people are not, but definition being an irrational fear of, an aversion to, or discrimination against said transgender people.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people were crying transphobia when these responses were coming in, and they
Yeah,
were in the comments with the, oh, this is transphobia and transphobic and whatnot. And
yeah.
I think it 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 kind of gets, it's kind of a term that gets thrown around a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard now to even, I don't know. For me, it's hard to take it seriously because I'm just like, who? I mean, I know there
Right.
are people, but I don't associate myself with them necessarily. So, and I also think that there are variations to the tolerance of the idea of transgender in America and in the world. I think everybody has different comforts and different I don't know, just different ideas of what it is. Some are true, some are way not true, and
Right.
I think I think the term has been around long enough for people to kind of have an idea that isn't like a cartoon. So, um I want to say that this has been resolved, but I don't think that it has. It may never be.
I don't think it
So,
has either.
right. So what was the big uproar? What was your take? What was your take, Vic? What was your takeaway from the when you went down the rabbit hole?
Gosh, I mean, I don't think I went completely down the rabbit hole because it was just really so much. Because I just found, a new trans woman today who's older, and so she was saying kind of the opposite of what I guess you would say, like new school trans women were saying. And I have, I guess I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm not racist. I have a black friend, right?
Mhm.
But honestly, like, I could really give a fuck about my stance is always as long as this is two consenting adults, everybody who is involved in something is an adult, is consenting.
Mhm.
So no animals, no children, right? No
Mhm.
force. I don't give a fuck about what you do, quite honestly, because what you eat does not make me shit. I think that I've seen some beautiful fucking trans women, right? Um,
Mhm.
and just even men who wear makeup who do not identify as trans. I've just seen some beautiful fucking people. I don't give a damn, but it's where some of these videos that I've seen, excuse me, where some people are professing like, "Oh, we're not trying to be you. We don't want to be you," and it's
Mhm.
like, but aren't you? I mean,
Mhm.
you. And it's hard because honestly, I've never felt that way where I felt like I don't understand that struggle, quite honestly, about feeling like you're just a whole different person than what you were born as, right? I
Right.
don't understand it. I'm not gonna pretend like I do. I'm not against it though, because
Mhm.
it just kind of is what it is, I feel like. But to kind of denounce that we don't own periods. Like, first of all, do you want these motherfucking problems? You don't want these fucking problems. But for
Mhm.
two, I have a genuine question, and I don't know if it's gonna sound silly or not, but some of these trans women still have their penises. So that interests me a lot because how do you identify as a woman but you keep your penis?
Um,
But
right.
that's sex
And this,
versus gender. I think that becomes
right.
the issue. But I'm just that's because I'm very fascinated by that. How do you identify, yourself as a woman? You feel like a woman on the inside, but then you get to fuck, which you know, kind of like we were talking about a little bit earlier, with partnership, and sometimes, I think these gender assignment, these roles that we have on on each other or on certain people, because it kind of becomes a thing of you do what works best for your household.
Hmm.
And some women may be more, alpha, and some men may be more beta, and that
Hmm.
works for y'all, right? So it's kind of, us taking on those roles, and it just becomes like a much bigger fucking issue.
Yes. I will say for myself, I do not have a problem with anybody identifying themselves as whatever. This is
Right.
this is a free country so far, still. This is
It's,
a democracy still, a little bit. And we do still have freedom of speech and freedom of religion and freedom of press, and um we have freedoms in this country that a lot, some nations don't have for now. Okay. But
some of those
I
are
think
slowly
what
being taken
you
away from us.
yeah, that's why I'm saying just for now. It may not be there next year. We don't know. But exactly to that point, that's also another point. My thing is that when you bring it into a certain space, it changes because it's like how you want to live your life is completely your fucking business. And nobody should be able to tell you how to exist in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But when you bring your existence among others, you got to have a little humility, I think, when you are a marginalized group,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know this, thank God, but once upon a time, black people and white people weren't allowed to go to the same bathroom together or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed. Black people had to tiptoe in. Now, I'm not saying that, we didn't go and we were, but we were afraid and we had to kind of like, is this okay? Like, are these people tolerant of this? Like, is this going to be okay? Because this is not normal to us either. Okay. And then now to say that now to say like black women aren't allowed in this locker room now, that sounds completely absurd. But once upon a time, it wasn't. So for me, I think that you have to move with a certain level of humility.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that you should have to bend to the pressures of society at all costs, but just with sports, for example, I don't think transgender women should be competing against women who were born women, not because you're not a woman to yourself or the world, but because
Mm-hmm.
biology is real. We
Yeah.
can't just decide to ignore the factual state of affairs in life and
Right.
biology in order to accommodate. And I don't think you would want us to do that because at the end of the day, there are differences between men and women. Chromosomes, are different. And if your life was at stake in some medical way, the way somebody deals with it for a man is going to be different than how it's dealt with for a woman. And so I would assume you would want it to be dealt with the right way, the way that matches your biological makeup. But how you feel and how you dress is on you. But we can't ignore like medical facts, biology and chemistry and like
Right.
so it's difficult for me a lot of times because I'm an ally and I want them to be able to live their lives, but I don't want them to take away
Mm-hmm.
opportunities in order for their lives to matter.
Yeah. Um, and that's kind of the problem is I can't say, when I say we, I mean, nobody across the board is like all women are on board with this shit, right? But the thing
Right.
is, like, you cannot, like, we didn't choose to be born women, right?
Mhm.
You feel like, you feel this way inside, and so you're making a choice to kind of change the appearance of yourself to fit who you feel like you are on the inside. Fine. But then you come into this space and then you're telling us, because we didn't have a choice, right? You're telling us that like we don't own this and things like, because science does say that as a female that we do own periods, right? You may have some of the symptoms, cramping and things like that, but like the full on, just the issues that come with being a female, you don't have that. Okay.
Right.
And so to just kind of come over here and like knock all this shit over, it's kind of, it's a little rude.
Well, and I think that was the biggest thing that was coming out of this when people were responding, was just this level of like meanness and kind of rudeness that was coming from what was
Right.
the name again, Micah?
Blessing Rose.
Blessings Rose.
And then the other lady, the Cherry Bomb, because the thing with her, I felt like she was saying how like she kept saying real, because a lot of women are saying they do not want to be labeled as cisgendered women because they're women,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So then there's this term real women, real this, because from a biological standpoint, we are real, right? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would love to get a take on a trans man. I'd like to get their input on this. But it's interesting because I feel like trans men are kind of on the more quiet side than trans
Yes.
women.
Yes.
So that is that
I
is
think
that
that
a
too.
biological, you know what I'm saying, thing going on there?
Well, I was wondering that too,
Yeah.
because if you've lived your life mostly as a guy, does where does the male privilege go when you transition? Does it go away?
I guess if you keep your penis, like, I don't know.
Well, and that's what this Blessing Rose was saying, because she was like, I identify as a trans woman, but I have a penis and I like my penis and I love my body and
But see, that's
all of these
sex.
things.
That's
Right.
sex
And so that
versus
is the difference,
gender.
gender.
Yes, sex
Right.
is like the biological part, the physicality,
Mm-hmm.
but
Right.
your the gender, the womanhood, that's all psychological and culture and things like that. But it's like you still have that to fall back on. Like, we don't have that.
True. And like you said, we don't have the choice.
We don't have a choice. And then just the real ass shit. See, the thing is, I'm a woman who suffers from, I can't say like infertility, but I just not just so easy for me to get pregnant, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
there was a time earlier on where I just really felt like I wasn't woman enough, because my body would not, I would
There
have
are
the
biological women who can't have children and already
right.
feel that. So
So for you to come up
they
in
cannot get, I guess there's
here,
an identification there maybe, but
yeah, but see, so that's for you to feel like you're gonna come onto my space and be like, oh yeah, for someone to be like, oh, it's not a competition, but you're a better woman. Like, what? What? What do you
right.
mean?
And that's why I'm saying that's where it started. It started to just sound very mean
And
spirited.
it
It
did,
started to sound
yeah.
very pointed and very like, y'all aren't the real women, or because to me, I'm saying, like, if you as a transgender person or a person who's marginalized, if you want to call yourself that, I should be able to call myself whatever it is, and you should respect it, just like I should respect your pronouns. I
Yes,
should respect your,
yes.
the way you want to dress, the way you want to present yourself. I should also get that. Not I shouldn't lose that because I'm a cisgendered person or
Because you
because
want to
I
come up
identify with
in
my
here.
gender.
Yeah,
Yeah, I shouldn't get
absolutely.
the backlash because I am a woman, I was born
Because
that
you feel
way,
like you
I loved
belong
it,
over
and it's
here.
okay. Right. So that's where it was losing me, because it just started to sound like mean bullying or something, like, and my thing about that is that
It sounded like some man
I am
shit,
an
didn't
ally.
it?
Well, exactly, it did. It sounded like some man shit. It sounded like some man shit. And when there is a term, there's a term called, I might butcher this, but it's autogynephilia. We have an episode on kinks and fetishes if you need
Mm-hmm.
some reference, but there's a lot of philias, okay? And this philia is a sexual fetish, fetishization of the euphoria of dressing like a woman and being in women's spaces. Some people just get off on putting on the outfit and being where women are. And it ain't got anything to do with gender. It's
Yeah.
just about, or sex. It's just about feeling a certain way in their body.
feeling
There are
softer or-
straight drag queens. So just
Yeah.
so everybody's aware, there are straight
Mhm.
men who do drag.
Straight
are
men who
married,
do
who have
hair,
kids.
who do makeup.
Yeah, straight men that do hair,
like-
makeup. So just dressing up like a woman doesn't make you trans. So I think that we also need to put that out there. There was a transgender professor. Her name is Professor Jimena Alvarado, and she is transgender, but she also has a PhD. She's speaking in an article saying that lifting up the most marginalized is important. Unfortunately, the mechanisms in our minds tend to react with alarm when we sense that our comfort is being challenged. And I think that goes both ways. When you get comfortable with being trans and then people continue to question it, the defenses come up.
Mhm.
Because I do think that there's a little bit of privilege or entitlement. Sorry, not privilege. There's a little bit of entitlement right now that comes with being trans.
Right.
You've got the right. You've got the privilege now.
Yeah.
You can call yourself whatever you want.
It's
You're
two
beating
different.
women in
There's two
women's
separate
sports.
fights here. There's two
Yeah.
separate fights because then, as women, are females the ones who bear the children. If we want to abort for some reason, we can't even do that shit legally.
Right. We still have men telling us that we can't do
Right.
the things
And so
that
now it's like
our bodies do.
Right. And then it's these trans women coming over here. Like, I don't care about that. That's how you identify. But then you're gonna try to like push me out of what I was born into. Because
Or just suggest that it doesn't belong to me.
Yeah, because I just feel like
because now it belongs to you.
If you never
How's
saw
it different?
if you never saw a woman, could you say that you identify? What would you say if you never saw a woman, but you felt
Right,
this
because
way?
you identify as something that you weren't born as. How do you even know what that thing is if you haven't seen it? Or you're imitating something, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue, is that it comes off like, well, I decided to live my life like this, so you've got to fall in line with my decisions for my life.
But we're not protesting that, but it's when you...
Right. That's the thing. We're not protesting it. We are fine with you being that. But then you can't turn on your ally. How do you turn on your ally and start...
Or just the very space that you're saying that you belong into.
Right.
You can't do that to us.
And I'm saying what's really going to happen is it's going to turn. It's going to turn. Black women are always the fallback. We are always the ones that take the brunt. We're always the ones that are last picked and nobody gives a fuck. If you got us, it's going to be real easy for us to just let off away and fight your own battle. There's enough Black women fighting for their lives today just to walk down the damn street still. So everybody's fucking, we always do it. Why do we do it, Lord? We take on everybody else's fight so that everybody has equality and feels seen and heard. And yet they don't want to see or hear us say a motherfucking thing. So easy. It's always so easy to just turn it around on Black women.
And you just get so easily...
Like she was talking to just women in general. I mean, maybe she was, but she knew she was talking to Jess Hilarious, who was a Black woman. And who also gets a lot of flack for her looks. People call her trans. People call her ugly. People question her sexuality because she has kind of a... I don't know what to call it. I don't want to say rough. She just kind of has a...
New York energy.
I don't know. What do you call it? Huh?
New York energy.
Right.
Yeah, they're kind of rough around the edges. Yeah.
She's a little rough around the edges. She has an
I think she's
aggressive
from
personality.
DMV. Yeah.
She's from Baltimore.
Oh, is
So
she? Oh,
she's
okay.
just
Well, that
rough. She's just
yeah.
rough and rugged. But she has come into her femininity since becoming, you know, a comedian and getting social media attention. Like, I actually think she's very beautiful, but in a
Yeah.
different way than I think, I don't know, very beautiful. But it's beautiful. You know, they're both beautiful to me, but I don't know. She gets a lot of flack for it. And so I can understand her defense around it.
Mm-hmm.
But other people made a lot of good points just to say, like, honey, baby, we don't want this, period.
No.
This is not something we ask for. It's not something we pray about every month, like, oh, please come, unless we need it to.
Right.
But
make sure you ain't pregnant.
this is not something that is just like, like, we love it and it's ours and you can have it. And that's what most women were saying in response to this person, which was, you can have it. And yet I can't give it to you.
Right.
You're never going to know what it feels like. And
Right.
therefore, it's really tough now to defend you and your rights, because you aren't interested in defending me and mine. Because y'all should want women to be women. You should want women to identify as women, and you should identify as what you are. I asked my 81-year-old dad, I was like, what are we supposed to do about this? Because that man's seen a lot. And he was like, it's a touchy subject. He was like, trans people should fight for the rights just like women fought for their rights. Just like black people fought for their rights.
But we're still like fighting, and they're still being pulled away from
True.
us. And it's like, the thing about being trans right now, it seems like you get to have a louder voice than we get to. And like,
entitlement.
I mean, it is. And it is. But the thing is, we can't act like trans women are not being murdered, right? Because they are.
Right.
So it's like,
yes.
Like, is this really
that's where the allyship comes from? Yeah.
Is this really
that's where the solidarity, that's what I'm saying. You don't want to have this fight because we are your allies. And if you turn on us, you don't have nobody. Then you're never going to get, you know, transgender categories in sports and transgender bathrooms or locker rooms or whatever. I work at a spa, and there's been a couple times where people, because you can book your services online, so you don't have to necessarily hear somebody's voice or see somebody's face to book them an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And this person booked themselves under a woman's name and showed up 6'7", dressed as a woman, and was very adamant about using the women's locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And they let her. But as a woman, I was upset for those women. And somebody asked me why. It's like, why? What is it that makes you upset? And my thing was that there's a penis in here. It's not about being like, I'm grossed out by a penis. Obviously, most of the women are married or have boyfriends. It's not about the penis, but it's about the strength of a man and a penis being in the room when women are naked and in a vulnerable state.
So what if he had a reassignment surgery? But you would never know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would never know.
But how do you know
that? You don't know. You don't know until you're in the locker room and the person's penis is out.
Or not, yeah.
Do they go up to every single person and say, is this okay? Is this okay? No, they don't. Everybody in that locker room that day just had to fucking deal with it. And some women were pissed and complained and asked for their money back and wanted to leave and all the other things because it wasn't as inclusive as we want to be. It excludes people who are not there yet or who are not comfortable and they don't have to be comfortable in order to respect your boundary or respect who you are. But when you come in a women's space, you come in a space that is for women and it's full of women, and you have a penis and no boobs, it's just, to me, it's like a threat. It's like an immediate threat because I don't know what your plan is. Yeah. People are fucking nuts out here. And I'm not saying that because I'm not saying transgender people are nuts. I'm saying people are nuts. Mm-hmm. I don't know what your plan is. I don't know what your intention is. Maybe you just came here to have a spa day and great. That's awesome for you. However, there should have been, to me, I thought there should have been some sort of, I don't know, there just should have been some sort of like,
Special. So should they go
I
over
don't know.
to the male side, or should there be like a third, side where they have like trans people have their own locker room?
I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
I think my opinion is that we should start making 3.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But or 4. But I don't personally want to be in a co-ed space naked. I could be in a co-ed space in a robe, in a co-ed space in a bathing suit.
Because it is hard enough to be in those spaces with other women.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
some
people.
you get over it because you're like, oh, it's another woman. Like you move past it. Your brain is able to kind of just like, all right. Let me cover myself, or let me go in the bathroom, or what. But you're not mad about it. You're just like, well, I'm the one that's self-conscious, so I'm gonna do what I have to do to make myself feel better. But now there's a transgender woman in here with a penis and no boobs, and they're walking around like the rest of us, and we're supposed to behave as if we're okay with it. Otherwise, we're assholes.
So what if
we're transphobic?
That's the thing about it, just so easily being labeled transphobic because you have something to say against certain things. But so what if someone had a penis but had breasts?
It's the penis for me. It's the penis part.
Mm-hmm.
A penis can be used
because some people can still be
you.
bisexual. You don't know. Just because someone's like trans, then their sexual orientation becomes a whole other thing. And it's not just, somebody can say, oh, well, there could be women in here who are, lesbians. And like, what's the difference?
I haven't really had much on this, but I am interested in knowing what if a trans man walks into a woman's bathroom. Do you then still feel away?
Well, I don't know. I really did look to see if since we're talking about it's the penis, trans men, is there an operation for them to get some type of a? I've seen the surgery. I saw it on YouTube of a man, like a man becoming a trans woman. I've seen that surgery. I was very fascinated by that. I had never seen like the opposite, because it'd be like an implant. Because we do have like humongous parts, but it's just your clitoris is only going to it's only going to go so far as a penis. Like, come on. So, it just gets so deep. So a trans man, I don't know.
That presents as a man?
Yeah, trans man would be a woman.
That's presenting as a man.
A trans man walks into a woman's bathroom because he still has a vagina.
So in Italy right now, they had like the Miss Italy pageant or whatever. And so trans women were not allowed to compete. So trans men signed up. And really just the trans, like it's too fucking far. I watched some video of a lady, she wanted to be like trans disabled. Like, come the fuck on, bitch.
Oh, no.
You're doing too fucking much.
Well, yeah, because there's transracial.
Right. So And that's the thing. It's like,
Rachel Dolezal's out there.
Right. So it's like white people say
how far is this going to go?
Because they grew up in the hood. Well, it's fine because, because you have white people who know they fucking lame. Like, yes, I love the culture. I have, my child may be half black, but I'm not going to say it.
Right. I don't think that would be appropriate either, Micah, to be honest, because there's nothing that I wouldn't be able to know that you're actually a woman unless you then went up to me in my startled state of like, why are you in here? And say, oh, no, I'm actually trans man and I have a vagina or something. That's way too much information. That's not really going to happen. You're expecting to just walk in the bathroom and go in a stall and leave. I don't know why a trans man would do that, but this is the world we live in because, maybe that line over there is too long. Maybe
the trans men
like nut today.
The trans men are much more mild.
It was just presented for the sake of, you said it's the penis for you. So was just asking.
It's the penis. But it's not, but we're not talking about, I'm not just talking about going to the bathroom. I'm not just talking about peeing. I'm talking about
in any scenario, like with that
a gym or a spa where we are openly naked, right?
Right. And that's what I'm saying. A trans man just walks into a locker room, right? Dressed as a man.
Mm-hmm.
And strips down and is
is a woman.
And is a woman.
Has the genitalia.
Yes, of a woman, right?
Okay. So then yes, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that because
with beard
I'm fine with that.
So do you know if
I'll be fine with that as long as I see boobs, and as long as once they are not wearing clothes, they don't have a penis. I'm personally gonna be okay.
What if they have their like a mastectomy? They have their breast removed,
but they still have a vagina.
Yeah, but you're not right. Looking like you're inspecting everybody.
It's a complicated discussion.
This is what I'm saying. It's complicated. It's hard because it's like it seems like one of those things where I would want somebody to just ask my permission real quick. Or make an announcement of some kind. Like, I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like that's completely unrealistic. So
I will say this. Get my little 2 cents in on this whole situation.
Oh, yeah.
I will say this. There is no limit to who can be a bully. And I feel like we are watching a lot of bullying happen right now. But I also feel like I kind of understand it. Right. As a Black man, I walk around with a chip on my shoulder 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether it's on display or not. And so there are things that I see sometimes that make me want to take flight. And
like what?
Right.
What happened with the white man with the country singer that just had the song, whatever, right? Whatever the fuck. I see stuff sometimes that make me want to take flight. And I know a lot of white people who I love very deeply who would take sincere offense to some of the things that I would say in response to that song, because the chip on my shoulder is not going to allow me to just express how I'm feeling about what's going on in that song. I'm going to take the shit to a totally different space, right? And I feel like what happened with Blessing Rose is she was not being mindful of the potential audience that she would have, because right, a lot of times you don't anticipate going viral. You're trying to trigger somebody,
one person,
necessarily, right? A huge audience, and it just may happen, right? And I think that a lot of times just feeling whatever your feelings are, whether they were triggered by an incident that happened right in that moment or otherwise, I think you just say things and sometimes it clicks like what happened with her, right? But I also feel like once something like that happens, the wolves are chomping at the bits, just waiting for somebody to say something in defense or in opposition to what happened there, so that everybody can attack. And I feel like somebody like a Jess is now being crucified really for being defensive. And I feel like in a lot of situations, what we're dealing with right now is that one side is okay to be offended, even if we don't see what it was that offended you. Like for me, who's not involved in these matters, who don't pay attention, these things don't come across my timeline on a day-to-day basis. I didn't even know what was going on until so I'm not in this fight, nor do I feel like I should be.
You have a different fight.
Right. But when I see when I saw, the first thing that I saw was Blessing Rose seemingly intentionally trying to trigger women. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I
That's what I saw too.
I firmly believe in holding the action accountable first and then the reaction. I don't believe in holding the reaction accountable first and foremost. And there is not really a balance when it comes to accountability in this world. And so whatever is in that space where they just say whatever it is that they want to say, and they have the greater audience to come and attack, that's just what ends up happening. And you could get slammed just for speaking out, all because you were offended. And now all of your words are thrown into this particular situation. And it's like,
right,
you don't get slammed for being cisphobic. That shit just don't really, that's not a fucking thing, right?
It's not a thing. Sounds ridiculous, actually. But
are you mad at me?
It's not to say that this is not to say that transphobia is not a thing. It's just that every defense of, in this case, in a situation, my manhood, but in your case, in every defense of your womanhood is not an attack on trans people. Right. And
I think that's the statement that needs to be made.
Yeah, and to muddy that conversation just speaks to the fact that the real tragedy in all of this is that we're having this conversation in 2023. Like in our lifetimes, this past decade is the most that trans people have had a voice in our entire lives. Like this is the most. And so, yeah, when you get a voice, yes, you tend to be over fucking bearing. I understand it, right? You tend to go in what some people's eyes may be too far, maybe in what many people's eyes may be too far, right? But from that side of the equation, how could you not, like, you not only were they made to be a joke, every movie that I saw all the way until 2011, 12, 13 or something, every movie or television show that I saw that had trans representation in it they were made to be a joke, or they were made to be an evil presence in some way. And that's just when it comes to entertainment. That's not even speaking for the general conversation within society, right? So yes, I do feel like there's some bullying going on, but I also understand it. And it's a hard discussion to have, because nobody should be in position to tell a woman what she should or should not be comfortable with. Certainly not a black woman. But this is just a reoccurring conversation, and it always ends up, unfortunately, falling on your shoulders. Like, y'all, women do oftentimes.
It's everything.
Do oftentimes bear the burden of the reality that no one should be in a position to tell women what they should and should not be comfortable with. Y'all oftentimes end up bearing that burden. Y'all carry that cross. Y'all could be minding your fucking business, and somebody gonna walk up to you and throw a cross on your back, and you're gonna have to carry that shit. So,
and we will, because we can, no matter, it's
we just built like that.
Yeah. And we are. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, we're the nurturers, and it's not to say that there are not. And the thing is, like, it's such a generalization, because it's not to say that all women are nurturing, because no,
right.
It's not to say that all men are not nurturing, because that's not true, right? And it's just a thing of, if you were a true ally, I think, of womanhood, and you would see how we are under, attack. We're the autonomy that we have over our bodies is being pulled by fucking men, and you just kind of throw yourself in here. If you were really a true ally, you'd be like, damn, like, I can't claim this, because this is a problem I'm not gonna fucking have, point blank. You're not gonna have that problem. You're not gonna get fucking pregnant. So there's no risk of you breaking a law by getting an abortion. Shit like that comes with, I guess, and that's the problem, is the whole the sex versus gender problem.
Yeah.
Our identification, whatever,
I think it's also really, really interesting that the discussion, I didn't even think about it, the discussion of, as a naturally born man transitioning to a woman, you are still a naturally born man or naturally born male, right?
Right.
And
that's
why I say we can't just be ignoring
right.
But you start taking chromosomes. But regardless, you take hormones and they will change.
But you still got that chromosome.
Yeah, right. But skipping over that, right? Skipping through that's going a little bit too deep into it. But just at its core, right? At the root of it, right? You were born a male, right? And men have such a difficult track record when it comes to the way that we treat women. So you're born a male, you're transitioning into a woman, and now you're telling women about who they are, what they're going to do with themselves, and you know what I mean.
And so how you're better, and how you're better at it.
That's a difficult that's a difficult reality for. I can only imagine that being a difficult reality for a woman to endure. That you have to deal with men telling you about yourselves all fucking day, every day,
every day,
and you have to deal with it from a woman who was born a male. Yeah, that I can.
And from men who were born males.
It's coming at us from all sides. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, for you deal with that from men.
The only reason we won't become extinct is because we have the babies.
Right.
If it was up to men,
right,
we would go extinct. We would go extinct, and they would just have their transgender women, and it wouldn't matter anymore.
That wouldn't be it. It wouldn't be that simple. Because we will
no, but it would be.
We still if we need you for nothing. Well, yeah, but if we need you for nothing else, we need you to objectify you. Like if we need you for nothing else, we need to be able.
You can do that to a trans woman,
right? But it's not the same for most men because they don't want to be associated with the idea of being gay, right? For a lot of men, it's not. So we need if for nothing else, we need to be able to objectify you and then judge you for our objectification of you.
But you can objectify gay men.
If you want,
I don't think it's the same. Yeah,
I'm just saying if women were wiped off the earth and transgender women were able to have babies and can continue to the human race, and we got rid of women, men would objectify transgender women because those would be the women. And gay men would be the women. So men would do it either way. Men will fuck anything. Okay, I'm not saying every man will fuck anything, but I'm saying men will fuck anything. They will figure it out. They'll dress up that man, look just as pretty as any girl ever, and fuck her every night. Okay, and so I'm just saying, if there was no more women, if it was up to men and they really got rid of us the way they want to, they can't, because we, like I said, we make people, and that is the cardinal thing that makes a woman is that she can make people, or that she bleeds, or that she has a uterus. So all the parts are there. She has a vagina, she has a uterus.
Right.
So we just consider that a woman.
Because if a woman does not have children, cannot bear children, and doesn't have a cycle, that does not mean that she's without a uterus.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I also think though that some of these conversations are, but I think this one is a conversation that probably does not need to be blown out of the water, if not for the fact that Jess responded and turned and blew the shit up into a situation. I don't personally think what she said was even relevant to respond to. That's why I didn't want. That's why for the vast majority of this conversation, I haven't had anything to say, because when I heard what Blessing Rose said, I was like, so who gives a fuck what you think? That was my thought, right? Like, I don't give a fuck what your belief is. It doesn't matter to me. It's not a thought that I would even entertain, right? But it became something to entertain because Jess entertained. All it takes is one person, right? And one person with a big enough voice, one person with a big enough controversial voice, right? And that is just a nutshell, right? She has a big voice, she has a big controversial voice, and she has a lot of controversy that is connected to who she is, what she looks like, all of that, right? So all you need is for that one person with that to be able to blow this conversation out of proportion. Realistically, that one statement that she made, or that video that she made, wasn't really worthy of, in my opinion, a response. Again, it ain't my position to say that, right?
Oh, no, I understand what you're saying.
Tell women what they should, what they should or should not respond to. But these conversations are happening because there is a lot of fucking bullying going on. And a lot of women who feel like, yo, I'm on your fucking side. What are you doing?
That's how I feel.
Catching flack. You know what I mean? Like, y'all are taking stray bullets from shit that ain't got nothing to do with you. You may have.
That's how I feel.
Blessing Rose may have gotten into a discussion with a woman who was with just lighting her ass up, right? And she just felt a way about that and wanted to just let it out. And you're getting hit with a stray bullet. When she got that aim, she had it meant for somebody else. But she's hitting y'all with these stray bullets, and it's not even. It doesn't belong on your shoulders, but she doesn't.
But then we have to address it, because we can't sweep it under the rug and pretend like we didn't hear it, or even if it's not worthy of our time, it's like we still have to address it because it feels
like an attack,
targeted. It feels like an attack, and it feels like a target, and then it feels like we have to nip it in the bud now because, like I said, you lose black women, you lose.
Do you?
I'm saying,
I know it probably seems like that now, but we're at a space, right, where the trans community they have a significant presence in media. And when you run media, you can do whatever the fuck you want, right? Media is why this conversation is happening, because they put these conversations out that do not belong out all over the internet like that. These are not conversations that we should be having, because most of us are not equipped to be able to address these situations. If we were to sit face to face if you were to sit face to face with a trans person, no cameras on, no anything, right, and have a conversation like that, you might be able to accomplish something between you and that person. But what happens is you put a whole, like, you know what I mean? The whole internet full of opinions into one conversation.
Right.
And really all it takes is for one person to hear. A lot of times we're just regurgitating talking points. We hear something that somebody else said that makes perfect sense to us, and we're just recycling that same conversation over and over and over again. And the more people that get on this board with this one thing, the more that that it becomes the dominant opinion.
But that's just transgenderism in general, right? Because it was like there were certain people screaming it for years and nobody was listening, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was Laverne Cox or Orange Is the New Black, or I don't know what it was. I don't know what the caveat was that changed it all.
It was a lot. There's a lot of different things.
It was a culmination of things, I suppose.
It started really right when we started seeing more of a gay presence on television, right? Because when people like Ellen started coming out and saying, "Hey, that wasn't really like she was common at that time," and
right, and so it's fine because it was just one person.
But then and
she was a white woman.
Right, but she opened the floodgates for that to become more of a
she got all the backlash.
Right. So a lot of people, times, like up to this point, just think about it. The only trans person that we really knew about was fucking RuPaul. Or she's not even a trans person; she's a drag queen.
She's not even trans; she's just a drag queen.
Right. So that's
just a gay man in a drag.
Right. But that thought process, right? Most people are gonna associate RuPaul being transgender. And maybe ignorantly, right? But that's just they're gonna associate her with being a part of that community, right? So that being the reality of the situation, like we haven't seen that kind of representation aside from really RuPaul. We've never seen anything close to that kind of representation.
Actually, maybe
like,
that is
RuPaul's
Drag Race,
And
then, maybe that was a big thing that
I'm talking about before that. RuPaul has always been like for our lifetime. We've known about a RuPaul.
I'm talking about what has led us to this now, because we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Acting like it doesn't exist. Acting like it doesn't exist. Acting like it shouldn't exist. acting like society.
It shouldn't exist.
Like society, what, transgenderism?
No. That I don't care about. But just
that's
the
how we got here.
conversation. Yeah, but I'm saying the conversation just shouldn't.
Oh no, but the conversation needed to exist at some point because we kept them in the dark for so long. They were like our
now
dirty
the
secret.
Entitlement.
The transgender, the
entitlement.
LGBTQIA plus, right? That was like the dirty little secret of, in spite of the fact that everybody knows that they exist, right? That was like they were treated like a dirty little secret. If there was one, if there was a gay person in your family, person in your family, you were kind of just like, if there was a transgender person in your family, they were completely ostracized. If that didn't happen with that we're not going to go. We're not this episode. I was going to go too personal with that, but that is a commonality in families, and especially with big families. And so, with that being the situation, because people it wasn't something that was so comfortable to be talked about. Nobody ever wanted to normalize it, and now we're in a fight for supremacy at this point. Like now we're in a fight for dominance, because when you've been held down so long, you can't help but to expect that people are going to not just try to rise up, but dominate at some point. That's just nature, right? We're just talking about this with the power. When I said power cannot be evenly distributed, so people, wherever they have it, they're going to take advantage of it. They've never had it before, or maybe they have had it and they're just comfortable in that position, so they're going to fight to keep it, right? And that's just, if you've always been in the shadows, always, like, can you imagine just making sense out of coming out of the shadows and being like, now I'm finally here, and there's still people who are trying to put me back in the shadows, but I'm actually here.
Yeah,
man, fuck
I've had a lot to say for a long time. So,
but maybe it feels like that, but that's not actually what it is.
Absolutely.
But maybe that's what it feels like, but that's not what it is. When a cisgender woman is trying to say you are a woman and not a real woman, it's not. I don't think generally a woman saying that is trying to cut at
not at all
a trans woman's identity or her sexuality or her womanhood.
Facts are facts.
She's just trying to say, like, this is one thing and this is not the same thing but different. However, it gets taken in such a way because, like you said, being in the dark for so long, being repressed and regressed and having to stay in the closet or whatever, it's like, no, we're not even gonna allow even a little bit of misunderstanding go by. Which I guess I can understand if we take it back to race or just women in general, when before civil rights and all that stuff, it's like, I'm sure these people during the civil rights movement, these white people were like, what the hell? These black people think they can just talk to us? They can just look us in our face now? And black people were like, yeah, bitch, we can now. And there was just probably a really long-winded struggle of like, how far can we take this before, I don't know, we killed or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or before it gets taken away from us again because we've gone too far with it. I don't know. I don't even know if that's possible. But
the difference
is away,
like,
the rest of things.
Those are not, your race is not a choice. This shit is a choice. And it's to say you feel like that, you feel like you are a woman, and that's fine. But you're coming into an area and trying to fucking bulldoze, right? And like tell us like what the fuck it is. Like, no, we are the gatekeepers to the shit. You can't do that.
And if gender was a color, it would matter. If your gender was what, if the color was the gender, you know what I mean? It would matter. And it would make much more of a dent, I guess, in the conversation, because it would be like, you can see it. You were born a man. I can see it. It's still there.
Yeah.
I can't wipe this skin off, so I can't walk around talking about I'm white. I can feel that way in my, for myself, and I can call myself that if I want to, but nobody out there is going to call me white just because that's how I feel. They're not going to feed into my, philia or whatever it is just because I have it. That's where I'm coming from with it. It's like,
and you have to accept the fucking fact.
right. And we do. We can't decide that facts don't matter anymore. And that goes across a lot of different spectrums of topics that don't even have anything to do with gender. But just generally in the world, like we can't just decide that facts and science and math is just an opinion or a belief system. Like we can't do that. Otherwise, I mean, that's what we're doing, and we're losing. We're going to lose everything because it's like, oh, well, that's not what I believe. I don't believe in race. I don't believe in gender. What do you mean you don't believe in it? You don't have to believe in it for it to exist and to be true.
Right.
You know, I don't believe in Santa Claus. Some people do. Does that mean that Santa Claus is real because they believe in it? It doesn't. But they can believe, you can choose and believe in whatever you want to. That's your prerogative. But that belief can't cut out fact. And I think that's where the issue lies in the transgender, like the entire conversation. I think it's just it's like semantics or something that I think we're talking about.
It's like you're not self-aware. That's what it's almost like. You're not fucking self-aware.
And I think that's the thing too, is like there's some level that they want to just be called women. So that it's like
no confusion.
If anybody asks, they don't have to explain anything. It's like, I'm just a woman. But that doesn't work either, because there are men who are going to be attracted to you, and then when they take you home, you're a liar now. So it's like, just because you believe it doesn't make it a fact. So that's just my opinion, people.
Like black women listening to this, my opinion is not meant to tell you. I mean, my perspective on the situation was not meant to tell you to not feel your feelings. So if I was literally just trying to add a little balance to the perspective.
Yeah, I don't think that you said that at all.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I wasn't picking up that.
Just like our
energy
standpoint is not to make a trans woman feel like, like she's, not a woman like she identifies as. But you just can't come over here telling us that, like, we don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, we don't own this shit.
Our yard, bro.
We don't like we don't own this shit.
And the ownership thing is a hard word too. It's just like own.
Yeah.
What is that?
It just is.
Own it. I didn't buy it. I didn't purchase it.
It doesn't have to be a matter of ownership. It just is.
It wasn't given to me. Yeah,
it's just. It was given to you. You
Okay. Well, all right. Yeah. But some might say it was just. It was just a turn of the dial. It was just an extra chromosome, like just floated in there. Like it was an accident. Who knows? Okay. None of us were there when we were conceived. Okay. None of us. Nobody knows why this happened, why a vagina was formed instead of a penis. If you think about it, all a penis is a vagina turned inside out.
It is.
You fill out.
So
biologically, well, the clitoris. I mean,
it's literally a flip of a coin.
It is. It's a homogeneous part. Like, yeah, the clit and the head are the same thing.
We all have nipples, and it ain't gonna change. So we really should just be identifying as humans. It should be humanhood, personhood.
Can't be that simple. We'll have to start over.
Well, science.
Honestly,
we'll have to start over.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with starting over.
If we started over, this wouldn't be. If we started over, and they were just trans and listen, we've been conditioned to make sure that we're uncomfortable when we encounter a trans person in
and that
you understand, like we're conditioned to believe that.
We are. It's a human condition. It's human emotion, and fear drives most prejudice.
If you're not worried about a man,
or whatever.
The way a man looks at your body, if you're not worried about what could happen as a result of the way a man looks at your body, if you're not worried about, if those types of things don't vary the way that, don't vary from what happens when a woman sees your body, we may stare a little too hard. We may make you feel uncomfortable with the way where versus a woman, she's seen all of your parts. She's not really that worried about it. She's more worried about whether or not you're concerned. Men may not feel that same way. So a transgender woman walking into walking into a woman's bathroom or a room or seeing something like that. Yeah, of course I can imagine that being uncomfortable. But where is the? I feel like a lot of these conversations they end with.
But
say it again.
I said it's not to say that discomfort means that everything has to stop or change, but comfort level does mean something in the world. It does.
Yeah, I think everybody's comfort should be taken into consideration. I do not believe that because you are looking for your rights to align where, I don't think equality is as real as people want to make it seem. It's just not. There are just certain things that you are able to do that other people are not able to do. That's just the reality of life, right? And I feel like fighting for equality, the way that we fight for equality puts us in position where we make people whose lives, I don't particularly see something wrong with comfort the way that most people see, like, oh, if you disrupt my comfort and I have a problem with it, I must be phobic. That's not how I view it. In my personal opinion, I understand facts and all of I get it, right? So you read the definition earlier. I don't particularly see it like that. Disrupting my comfort, just so that you can be comfortable, I feel like is more something where we have a conversation, not a dictatorship. If you're in a relationship, right? If I'm in a relationship, like me and my wife, we talk compromise. We don't talk dictatorship. She doesn't tell me what I'm going to do with my comfort. I don't tell her what she's going to do with her comfort. And I feel like we have so many different variations of relationships across the world. And when a relationship, when you are trying to strengthen a relationship, you're trying to find middle ground. You're trying to find common ground. You're not trying to find a stronghold. That shit is not meant to last. So to your point about, if you lose Black women, you lose, I don't know if that's particularly true, but I do feel like you cannot try to strong arm equality. It's just not going to happen.
Well, what I really mean when I say that is that Black women are the blueprint, and we are the ones that kind of
you're on the forefront of every fight.
I just mean, like, if you are going to come after Beyonce, if you're going to come after Rihanna, Lizzo, Mary J. Blige, I'm just saying, if you lose Black women's support, I just don't see how that works in your favor ever again, because we are the gatekeepers.
We are just so open arms.
It's harder to lose a Beyonce though, because they have a stronghold on her bottom line, right? A lot of times the people that we're worried about, like, are fed by the discussion, right? So like the Beehive, a lot of the Beehive is LGBTQIA. The Beehive, right? So they're not gonna lose her because they fund a lot of her existence, right?
But that's what I'm saying. They copy Beyonce. I'm not only Beyonce. I'm just saying, like, the imitation. What we see most of the time from gay men and from transgender women is a Black woman. Is them imitating a Black woman. Not always. I'm just saying the blueprint for them of what a woman is and how she presents herself is generally coming from a Black woman, or like an iconic white woman of some kind too, Madonna, a Meryl Streep, or whatever. I'm just saying there's it's very distinct, and it's very distinct. Yeah, I know, and we're gonna have to continue this conversation, to be honest with you.
That's another complicated layer, because now you're going into identity.
I understand.
Right?
I understand. All I was trying to say is that Black women take on the challenge. Like, we are happy to
100%.
because we want it. We're happy to take it on and fight for others to have it too, because we want it so badly. So That being the case, if you don't have nobody fighting for you, there aren't enough transgender people in the world to fight for themselves. They need allies. They need solidarity. Being transgender is a small. It seems like a lot of people.
Man, listen.
It's really not.
You know why that's difficult? What you just got done saying, because we have drugged y'all through the mud, right? We've drugged y'all through the mud. Let something happen to a black man at the hands of police tomorrow, and guess who's going to be on the fucking front lines? Yeah. Black women. So you can't, when you talk about that, it's really difficult for you to say that because there is no real way to lose black people. Because
I'm not saying it's realistic. I understand.
When y'all see people hurting, y'all empathize with it. Y'all stand on the fucking front lines. So it's really no way to lose black women.
I get it. I understand what you're saying.
Y'all are the rock. You know what I mean? Like y'all are the rock.
She's saying if you do lose,
you can't. It doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter how harsh. It doesn't matter how poorly.
I understand what you're saying.
Over the course of history, we don't lose you.
All right. I'm gonna leave it there. Okay. You know why I'm gonna leave it there?
That's why you need to be
because I'm starting to sweat, and that's not good. And
y'all need to be appreciated.
I have many thoughts and feelings, but. And you know what? It's okay that I have thoughts and feelings. I ain't about to blow nothing up. I ain't gonna kill nobody over it. I just know my limits of conversation.
Can we do a black woman episode, please?
What the hell is that gonna be about?
Strength, resilience.
You want to give black women a platform to just sit around and complain? Don't do that. We don't want to do that.
I don't look at it as
because that's depressing as hell. It'll turn really sad, really, really quick, really sad, deep, and dark, twisty, and like it won't be productive.
Sure it will.
I don't think.
I don't know if I necessarily, because I think we all wear it differently.
Yeah, that's true. We got the uppity. We got the, there's a lot of
that's a lot of sunshine,
and it's just a lot of things to tackle. Like, I mean, that's a show that could go on for days.
Yeah,
and I just feel like I don't know. I feel like that would almost be like sitting around watching slave movies like 24/7 for like an entire week.
I wouldn't do that.
That's what
like the feeling of it would be like that. It would just feel like heavy and harsh. And upsetting and cold and sad.
But that closeout with regard to the fact that you will fight in spite of the lack of appreciation, I feel like is an important discussion to have. I do. I feel like y'all fighting in spite of the lack of appreciation is such an important discussion to have.
We need to have a discussion about stopping. That's what we need to have a discussion on.
You won't hear what the fuck
on women not doing that anymore. How about we have a discussion on what are we going to do instead? Every time somebody comes to us, turn your back, say no, learn to say no, black women. Maybe.
Let's have a discussion.
You know what? I'll never forget the time when I was working in Vegas and I guess I was like the fucking entertainment or some shit because I'm a moody person, but when I'm quiet, that's when everybody's like, "Oh, what's wrong? What's wrong?"
Mm-hmm,
and kind of like this one night in particular, it was like they were just looking for my sass and looking for all of that, right? Mm-hmm. And it's because I didn't have it that day because I wasn't in the mood.
Yeah.
That was like a problem.
It was a motherfucking problem.
Yeah.
That's why I said there are just too many. There are too many issues of black women that we wouldn't be able to tackle enough topics to make some kind of a dent that would be inspirational to us all. It wouldn't be able to happen quick enough.
Black people as a whole is that we're so quick to invite somebody to the cookout.
Yeah. I was just watching this experiment these two guys were doing. It's a black guy and a white guy, and they both put on sunglasses and pretended to be blind.
I saw
Did you see that?
Yes.
And each of them would walk down the street and grab somebody and see if they would kind of like lead them continue. Yeah. And nobody did it for the black guy, and everybody did it for the white guy. And I had to turn it off because I was like, I don't want to see, like, I know this is real. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see it though. I don't want to see it being real because it just takes away from like the human experience. It's just like, damn, bro, there's no reason this should be happening. There's no reason in the world that it should happen like that. It just does. And when things are just the way that it is, I hate that shit. I hate it. It's just the way that it is. It's just the way that it's always been. It's just the way. I don't like hearing that shit. That makes me angry because it's just like, but why? And we just have to sit back and accept it. And that's not okay with me personally. So it's hard to fall back on it.
So what do we do?
We end it and we come back next time for another episode of Lifestyles of Love. You know, every time I do this show, things come out. Emotions, words, thoughts, and feelings. And I'm always very happy that they do. But sometimes I have to just let it go. So that's what I'm going to do. I thank you all for being here. And if anyone would like to continue the conversation, in the DMs, shout out to my DMs because they were popping this week. Popping. Thank you. I'm happy to have the conversation. Micah, not so much.
No, don't talk to me.
But you can talk to me. You can put it in there. I'll be respectful. What'd you say?
I said, let Chris and Vic talk to me. Y'all don't talk to me. Chris and Vic can talk to me.
Let's bring it to the table. For Micah's sake. Because we always appreciate the male opinion. I don't want anybody to think we don't.
We do.
We always appreciate the male opinion.
Articulate and knowledgeable.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a good quality for a person.
Yes.
To have a person. And we'll continue this discussion for sure. Because it's bigger and we definitely need some transgender folk in the conversation as well. So tell your friends, tell your cousins, uncles, aunties, children, whatever. Tell them. And let me know if you want to be on to talk about it. In the meantime, at Crystal with a K, at Lifestyles of Love _ Micah at Aspire to Inspire _ music, and at Vic Needs an App. One more time.
Don't find
she gonna go to bed. Your eyes is heavy. They low.
Don't come looking for me.
Okay. It's just Vic. She's here. She's there. So thank you, Vic, for coming.
You, Vic.
Back to the stomping ground. Back to the original.
Right.
The original place for the life and the love. So we'll see you guys on the flip. On the flippity flip.
Bye.
Hey.